What incredible fun that match was.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? So, been playing ARK Survival Evolved for a while now, and tried my hand at making my first mod about 2 months ago. I've never done any modding, uh, especially for ARK, this complicated dev kit setup thing. Um, anyway, long story short, I've been using stacking mods, and I actually had a server that had over 57 mods at one point, and it took too long to load into the server. So I decided to try my hand at making my own mod. Just a little enhancement mod. It's called ARK Enhancement Plus. Nothing big. It just does little minor changes to the game, adds little variants of some things, and actually updates stuff like supply drops and so on and so forth. Anyway, while playing, I've noticed a couple problems with some stacking mods that I use, and one of them was seeding fruit in the Iguanodon's inventory. And particularly for my mod, where seeds are kind of important, because it leads to crafting other things. We'll get into that maybe in another video. It's very important to have this functionality. So, um, touch base with someone on one of the forums who has a stacking mod, and they have this particular issue. So I'm going to make this video for them in particular, but thought I would share with you all on how to make your own Iguanodon to work around the stack mods. So the first thing is, we're going to open up my mods folder, jump into my main mod here, and go into crop plots. So the first thing I did was create some seeds, or seed recipes, I guess is what you would call them. For example, make it a copy of the amarberry seed. After you make a copy, plug it into your own mod folder here, and then we will open this bad boy up and see what changes I made to it. I'm not going to go through the whole how to set up a mod. There's plenty of videos for that on the internet. That's how I started. I watched a couple videos off the internet, so I recommend doing that. First thing we're going to do in our primal item consumable for this seed is we're going to go to don't actually give item right here. And the reason for that is because I don't want to add more chaos in creating a seed, another seed. So then you'll have your default seed, which is being transformed into your stack mod seed, which then I'm going to transform into my own seed. So we're going to get real complicated, and I didn't want to do that. So I thought the best way to do it would be to check this don't actually give this item. And then if you jump down to the bottom where you type in give, at the very bottom you can see, you can say crafting additional items to give, and I'm actually giving the default seed. Okay, crafting give item count 1. Reason for this is because whenever you do a mod, especially with those stacking mods, you do the remap item. So by giving me this seed, I shouldn't be losing any functionality from either the stack mod, and then I'll still have the ability to seed the berries, or seed the fruit rather. Okay. I don't think there was much else that I did change in this, but we'll go ahead and start at the bottom, and I'll scroll down just a little bit. Let me just kind of look at things as we scroll through to see if I've changed anything. If I did and I missed it, at least I'm going through everything here so you can see it on your screen and kind of follow along with me. Make sure you have all the same checkboxes. So you can see there's one that I changed. That's the don't actually give item. Um, Sorry, bear with me. I don't want to leave anything out. Oh, here's another one. Always learn to engram. So this will make it where you don't have to actually have an engram that you have to work up to unlock. It'll just always be unlocked for the players. I do this a lot with my mod because I particularly don't like clicking on the engrams and unlocking all those things a million times, so I kind of do it with a staged auto learn engram. See what else we have here. Excuse my voice. Here I just left the description the same. The base crafting resource requirement, 1 Amar berry, right? 1 berry, 1 seed. I believe that was it. I gave it a default folder. The reason why I did that is because in the Iguanodon, if you don't, you can not give it a folder, but then you're going to have every type of seed in your Iguanodon's inventory all the time that you can craft, and it gets kind of cluttered. So I decided I would make a folder for it and just put them all in one folder. So inside the inventory of your Iguanodon, you'll have one folder called seeds. You open that up and all your seeds will be craftable there. There's my additional items to give. And I believe that's it. And we don't really have to worry about all this setup because we're not actually giving the seed. We're going to be giving the default seed back, and we know that one works. So we're all done with this. So you're going to rinse and repeat for all the different types of seeds. First thing, okay? And then once you have all the seeds created, let me minimize this back. Oops. You're going to need only 3 folders for the Iguanodon. If you see here I have 4. I have the saddle because I wasn't sure if I was going to have to create a saddle. I didn't. So this folder, or this file rather, is kind of useless. I just haven't deleted it because I guess I'm lazy. But we did get the Dino tamed inventory component from the Iguanodon character BP, and a primal item consumable egg Iguanodon fertilized, and we'll get into why we need that and hear a little bit later, excuse me. So the first 2 things you want to focus on are these 2 here. These are just copies of the originals. You just go up to game, type in Iguanodon, and look for these 3 files, the egg, the character, and the inventory. We'll start with the inventory. Okay. So this one was a bit tough. Again, I don't do mods. I'm new to this modding thing. I don't write codes. I don't know how to do the graphs, all the little fancy graphs that you guys are doing on the forums. I've seen some pretty complicated stuff. What I did was I made a copy of an Iguanodon tamed inventory component, and then I looked at the beaver Dino tamed inventory component and kind of compared the 2. Made changes where I saw the beaver had checks and mine didn't have checks, because the idea behind this mod, or this piece of the mod, was to kind of replicate how the beaver is a walking smithy. Well, I'm making basically the Iguanodon into a walking fruit seeding machine, I guess. So it's kind of the same exact setup. So open up your beaver Dino tamed inventory component beaver and your Iguanodon one, and maybe split screen with them, and then compare them side by side if you need more pointers in here. As for this, you can usually tell when I change something because you'll see the little arrow next to it. I'm not going to go into too much detail on why I did what I did in here, but just know that most of this is just kind of a direct copy from the beaver. So I'll slowly scroll through this just so you can make sure and get all your settings to match up like mine. I made the edibles last a little bit longer. That might have been a default. I changed my remote inventory description string to give a little bit of instructions for players on what to do. So you equip a saddle to seed fruit in the inventory for use with stack mods. I don't think I have anything at the end there, just AE+. Remote add item inventory. Okay, so we can't add artifacts. So if you guys are wondering what's the deal with none of the dinos being able to carry artifacts, one of the devs went in here and they basically installed this so none of the artifacts can go in there. So if you're doing a dino mod, you want to be able to have them carry artifacts again, you can just take this line out. Default inventory items. Okay, so in my default inventory items, this is where I listed all of the seeds that I created. Now when you do that, you also have to put default engrams and make sure you have 1s. A 0 would mean that when you craft, usually like if it's a bench that you're crafting, so when you craft the bench, that item would automatically be in there. So I would assume at this point it would be when you put the saddle on the Iguanodon, you would automatically get those. But it would only be 1 of each thing, so it's kind of cheaty and it's useless. So we're going to put 1s for all that stuff so we can know it's craftable. You can change all these other settings if you want. You can make them hold more inventory items. I didn't want to mess with the dinos too much because I know it'll create some type of issues in the future, so just left them pretty much stock, or standard rather. Set crafting enable check for auto craft blueprints. That's something you're going to want checked. Okay. So we've scrolled through this one all the way through. Just make sure you go ahead and save this file because we're going to use it a little bit later. And the Iguanodon character blueprint. Now I didn't change much in here. Didn't have to. Basically what this file is for me is to link the new inventory to. Okay, so we're going to take a look at it. This is the seed fruit portion of the Iguanodon. It's got a seedable fruit array and a seed array. Now, if it's your stack mod that you're working with, you can probably do something fancy in here and replace these items with your modded items and possibly just do it that way. So in reality, you would only need to create, I'm assuming if you have a stack mod, then you already have your seed blueprints, so you would just load those here, and then you'd have to create veggie blueprints as well, and for the berries and such. I did not use this. I didn't even change anything here. Okay, the reason why I did that is because if you're not using a stack mod and you're using my mod, then you don't lose this functionality, which does the same thing as what we're going to be doing, just a little bit different user interaction. Didn't change much here. Like I said, I really think this was just really to get the tamed inventory. Here it is right here, tamed inventory component template. I replaced it with my Iguanodon tamed inventory component. I don't really see anything in here that we changed. Just want to make sure I go through it all just in case. At least you guys have video of what it was. Now don't change any of that stuff. I noticed some of the mods like to change the custom tags and strings and stuff. That'll make the saddles not work. And also, you ever played a mod where the entry for the Dino has that square and it's just blank? That they've probably messing with the string names there, and it can't get back to the original Dino. They'd have to create them for the other dinos as well and add those new strings in. Descriptive name. You can change the dialogue color sets if you wanted. Again, I just did something real basic and just wanted to be able to tame the dino. Now, we're going to get into how I created the egg here in a minute, but I did want to show you this here. I put an egg here. Now, if you have ever done any modding with ARK, then you know that when you replace something, right? You do like your, let me give you for example. If I was going to make a new Iguanodon, which we're doing, I'm going to do remap NPC, and on the server it's going to call out to the original Iguanodon and it's going to be remapped to my Iguanodon. So every time it would spawn a real Iguanodon or a default Iguanodon, it's going to spawn mine instead. Now if I leave the fertilized egg the same, when that egg hatches, it's going to be an Iguanodon from the default ARK dev kit. I want it to be my Iguanodon. So therefore we have to create that fertilized egg and give this egg to this Iguanodon so we can replicate when players breed their Iguanodons, we can replicate that remapping of the NPC that goes on. We can do it through this. Let's see. Again, I don't think it changed much. The egg is important though. If you do not do the egg, then when players breed the dinos, they'll get the default ARK dino and they won't be able to seed the fruit. Okay, so now you saw where the egg's going to go. We'll jump into the egg. Any changes I made here. Now, I don't believe I did. I think it's just a literal copy of the Iguanodon fertilized egg. And in the very bottom of the I didn't even change any descriptions. Let's see. There it is. Egg dino class to spawn. We're going to spawn the Iguanodon character, but my modded one. Okay, so now I'm replicating basically the remapping of the NPC that my mod does for players when they breed the dino. Alright, so we went over our egg, we got our Iguanodon, we got our tame dino inventory. You should be able to see the tame dino inventory in your components section as well. No, I guess not. So it links just inside that area down in here, so we're good on that. We have our primal egg, our Iguanodon, our tame dino inventory, and we have our seeds. Okay, so now we're going to jump into, where is it? Now for those of you that are watching this that do mods, you're about to freak out because I'm going to click on the primal game data and you're going to say, oh my god, his computer's going to freeze up for like 15 minutes. I got a pretty decent computer. I have never used it with OBS, but it shouldn't take more than about 10 seconds, if that, for it to open. There you go. And we're going to first additional Ingram Blueprint classes. We don't need because they're auto-learned. So it's because I have them auto-learned, I don't have to put them here for players to learn. Okay. Let's see. So I added, actually I think I can just do this. Type in remap and we'll go to remap NPC spawn entries and you'll see that I do, oh no, I need to remap NPC, sorry. Where is it? Here we go. Remap NPC from class Iguanodon character BP to class Iguanodon character BP, my modded version. That should be the only change that you have to do. Now, in the beginning, I thought, because in the video I was watching, they had mentioned putting your fertilizer egg here, but you don't want to do that because what this does is, think of it like a Easter event going on where your dino is going to lay an egg and also possibly drop rabbit eggs, or Easter eggs rather, sorry. That would be where you want to do this. So what happens here, and I tested it, was I put my fertilized egg here, and every time any dino laid a fertilized egg, it would also give them the Iguanodon egg. So you don't want to do that. That was my my mess up. But other than that, everything here works. You're just going to cook your mod like normal. Again, there's plenty of videos on how to cook your mod on the internet. This was just to help out someone on the internet that I hope can give me some help at some point. I've seen some fancy graphs that they've been working on and so on and so forth. So if you got any questions or comments or maybe you need any other kind of tutorials, just let me know. And I'll see what I can do. Thanks. Bye.